Welcome to the Startup Grind.
Welcome. Have a
Are
seat,
these
my friend.
museum quality chairs?
They are.
They
yes,
are?
Absolutely.
Would Mom mind if I put my feet on the
No, you can put your feet on. They're fine. They're fine. Absolutely. I think he planned that, you guys. I think that was what was going on there.
I was afraid I get older, I can't do that as well. I may hurt myself.
It's all good. Well, thank you for being here tonight, Matthew.
Oh.
Matthew is actually joining us from Washington, D.C. I think he came for the weather, but we're glad whatever
God,
brought him
it's
here.
terrible back home. It's just dreadful.
So first of all, we want to get to know you a little bit as a person
Uh-huh.
and how you came to be. So tell us a little bit about your early life. Where are you from? What sort of family did you grow up in?
Wilkesboro, Pennsylvania, a good place to be from. And I always have that in mind every time I do anything. And when I came to Washington and found all this stuff that really started my business by helping Fortune 500 clients get stuff out of Washington. I had an MBA in computer science back in the 70s. And I'd go around and get stuff for these fat cats. And it just astounded me, the stuff that was there. I mean, I'd go and make 3 or 4 phone calls, talk to some expert who spent the last 20 years studying barbecue utensils. You know, I go, holy shit, we got somebody in the government studying barbecue utensils. Whoops, sorry. And you know, it was just amazing to me. I mean, this guy was probably making $100,000 a year in, you know, current dollars, and I got an MBA or master's in barbecue utensils, wherever the hell they study, and I'd find him, and God, I mean, I'd get all this free market studies the government spent like hundreds of thousands of dollars doing, and I'd take their name off it, put up my name on it, and I'd sell it to my clients for tens of thousands of dollars. And but what shocked me is that these people make billion-dollar decisions on it. I was like, God, you know, people in Wilkesboro don't know about any of this. And then the more I dug, I said, boy, there's so many tools in our society. And now with the internet, it's even more so that people just don't know about it. And it excites me when I see it, and it still does.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so when you were young, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Probably a clothing store.
You wanted to be a clothing store?
Well, my parents were in the garment business.
Yeah?
Yeah, and I 8th grade, I used to work in the factory. I was a cutter, I was a sewer, I did all this kind of stuff, yeah.
That's awesome.
But I hated factory work. I thought that was jail.
Sure. What were your first jobs outside of the factory?
Probably retail.
Retail?
Yeah. And I thought, well, that was a little interesting. More interesting, better than
before you had the
factory.
opportunity to make your own suits, how did you, I mean, were you always kind of hip and stylish?
Yeah, I always had, so in college then I worked for a big retail chain of formal wear. This is in Milwaukee. And formal wear was big at that time. And I'd wear tuxedos and tails to class.
Oh.
And stuff like that. And
So
I
you've
did
always
a lot
had
of
flair.
promotion for them, and I get my buddies, see what, in the fashion business, for doing bridal times, everybody getting married, you know, that season, that they have fashion shows. So I'd get my buddies from college, we'd dress up in tuxedos, and we get all the models, you know, they're really there to sell gowns, not tuxedos, you know, but they needed guys, you know, so my buddies loved
where this is going.
And we'd put on fashion shows, you know, just to be around the women.
That's awesome. It's like the guy that takes dance class because he knows he's going to be the only guy
Oh, I
in
did
there.
that once too. I took tap
That
dance.
doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was the only guy, and that was neat because I didn't have to dance because it sort of like was all around me, and I just had to sort of stand there, you know, they had to do all the work.
That's
But
awesome.
that was neat.
So what did you study in college?
Business, hated school. I probably was on and off probation every semester. I remember calling my dad up once. I said, I just go in the military. I'm just wasting time here. I'd work full time. I liked working.
Yeah?
But I hated school. I was a terrible student.
When did you first realize that you liked doing research? Because that's
Well, yeah, I mean, that's really funny to me because I
Yeah.
never read a book till I was probably about 20. Yeah. I
Well,
swear to
you
God,
certainly
I
waited.
found ways around that. Don't listen to this. And now I'm a ferocious reader, but yeah, I mean, none of the intellectual stuff. I mean, I
Yeah.
liked working, and I was always, I mean, I got to
what drew you
Milwaukee, and
in?
I was working full time because I was just bored. I hate going to school and just getting by. And then one semester, I was on probation the first semester, and I worked my butt off the next semester, and I just didn't do very much. I said, I could just lower that effort just to get a 2000.1. Whatever they said I needed, that's what I do to get through.
All right. Well, so what was it that was your first research project? What drew you in?
Well, I don't remember because
It was just that corporate?
I never did any,
Yeah.
and it's so funny that I never did a perm in college. I found women that would do it for me or something like that. Found ways around all that. Yeah, I mean, I flunked English in college, and I went to Mass. I grew up Catholic, and I went to a Catholic college, Jesuit school. And actually, I was thrown out of Jesuit prep school, too. And actually, I was thrown out the last class of my senior year in high school. The last class.
Oh.
They threw me out. They had me picking up papers around me. And I wasn't mean, I was just a pain in the butt, I used to think my middle name was Sit Down, because sit down, let's go, sit down, let's go. And when I saw that, I mean, I was never good at anything. I hated homework. I wasn't a good athlete. Back in the 50s, if you were a jock or band or something, I was good at none of that stuff. But I was good at being a pain in the ass.
All right. So you were in corporate and you were doing this research for corporations, and then you decided
yes. I mean, I came out of the Navy. I tried to get into. When I graduated finally, from undergraduate school, there was a draft on.
Oh.
This was Vietnam. And, God, military didn't sound like me. And so I said, well, I'll go to law school. Where's the lady from law school, Kelly? Yeah, right. I said, I'll take the LSATs, and maybe I'll get lucky and go to law school or something. I took the LSATs. I think I got 2 above plant life. Don't forget, I never read a book yet or something like that. So that was out. And by the way, I took the SATs with my kids when they first took them. You do with like one was in 8th grade, the other one was a sophomore or something. The 3 of us sat together, taking the SATs, and that was the funnest thing. I think one of the most fun things I did.
What?
To sit there with my young teenage kids taking the SAT, and during the breaks, hey, what was this like? To go through that experience. I really took them to show that, they thought I was cool still at that age. See if they, because we lived in a zip code, everybody's pretty competitive. Everybody wants to go to 5 colleges, and those grades are everything.
Right.
I just want them to say, hey, it doesn't give a shit, nobody cares. and they blew me out of the water. I had the same SAT scores, even I must have been 40-some years old, and got the same as I did from high school. So I don't know what that's all about. What was the question again?
Okay. It's all good. It's all good. Okay, so was writing a book the first thing that you did in this?
No,
in
I mean,
this
don't forget,
film?
my first book that I wrote, I plagiarized the whole goddamn thing.
Okay. This is not called True Confessions. It's called Startup Grind.
I mean, to me, that's what the country is. It's just one.
Yeah,
And I called that son of a bitch English teacher that flunked me at Marquette. When I made the New York Times bestseller list. Yeah. And there was a story about her. Now, I was so bad at English. My roommate was from Mexico. He used to help me with English. People who grow up in other countries, they know English grammar better than we ever learn it. And he would help me with everything. I was so bad at that stuff. But I would go to Mass with that lady every day after school. I mean, I was a fallen away Catholic by then, but man, I was trying anything to pass that class, And I'd go to Mass with her all the time. And actually, she was a friend of my sister's from Misericordia College somewhere in Wilkesboro, Pennsylvania even. And I still couldn't pass that sucker. But then I got out of that, and then I got an MBA, and graduate school is easy. I mean, after I went in the military and came back, and you're ready to work, and that was sort of interesting. And so
You didn't get kicked out of the military?
yes, I did actually. I got kicked out of OCS twice. Yeah.
All
And that was The options there, you get drafted and you go camp in Vietnam, and I'm not a camper. You know, so I was going to join the Navy. That sounded, hey, clean sheets. That's my kind of camping.
Right.
And I'll tell you, in the military, I never had more responsibility again for the rest of my life. I mean, they give you, and I was telling her about kids, I mean, I think campaigns are like that too. I'm a 22-year-old, you know, nobody, and I'm out there in a war, and you're an officer, and, you know, you're shooting people and commanding people and, you know, doing all this stuff. Then I was a diplomatic courier with a gun on commercial airlines. I had to be the last one on the plane, the first one off, and my gun and my sacks, and, you know, and all this kind of stuff. I was a kid. And back then, too, you were allowed to have a gun on a plane once you got in the air. See, it was so funny back then. This is before what's going on now. But I had to be the last one to get on that plane because I had to see all my stuff get locked in, everybody on the plane, the pilot, everybody in. Then I could get on the plane because we flew commercial all over the world. Yeah.
Interesting.
So that I would get on. Now, when the plane got in the air, then I had to give the steward or the stewardess my gun, and the captain would take my gun until we got to land. And I remember the stewardess coming back out, and they'd be walking down the aisle with the gun, holding it like this, and giving it to a punk kid. I mean, they were 22, 23 years old or something, dressed in civilian clothes. I wasn't military, didn't travel in the military. And they're giving this kid like this a gun.
Crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
it's just, again, I mean, I was driving around billion-dollar ships in the South China Sea before GPS. Had to do celestial navigation.
What?
You know, that's the way you did it in those kinds of worlds.
Wow.
Now I'm a two-bit huckster, you know.
Wow. Okay, so how did all of that add up to you becoming Mr. Free Money?
I failed at everything else.
Okay. Well, how'd you figure this one out? Like, what?
By failing. I mean, I tell you the truth, because school was terrible. Even MBA, and I went, I don't know how many MBA schools. Back then it was so stupid. They taught you how to run General Motors. Yeah, in MBA school. There's only one of those jobs. You know, what are the rest of us going to do? That's all it was. So you get all this bullshit in your head, you go out and you try to start business. Cause I mean, every time I worked for somebody, and this is computers. I was a professor of computer science back in the 70s, and my MBA was in computers and stuff like that. And I was a coder and writing. I had a software company back in '75 that went belly up. I was probably the only person in the world that did, but thank God. But I was trying to do everything like somebody else taught me. And that's the problem, I think, with life, is that we take too much advice. Because what's good about all of us, I think, you, me, and that's what, oh God, if I didn't fail, I'd have a mediocre software company. You know, I'd figure out how to get it by or something. And I think life is really, how much can you give? How much can you love? How much can you pour into this life that you have that's so short? And you're only going to be able to do that when you find what the hell you really are. And or I don't even see, I can't even speak English. What the hell?
I think you're going down the right path there.
And failure did that, because I was doing everything like they taught me, you know. I mean, I had to get the LLC or all this kind of stuff. I had to get the lawyers. I had to get the power furniture and the power business cards and the board of directors and all that. And I went on business, and who won? The lawyers, the accountants, all these kind of people. They knew and had enough sense to get paid, right? And after that happened twice, what was the greatest feeling was I realized nobody gives a shit about you. Nobody cares. I used to think everybody cared. If I failed at something, I'd be walking down the street with a big F on my forehead, and everybody be pointing at me, you know. Oh, there goes Lesko, the failure. And after 2 failures, wow, nobody cared. And that was such a liberation, because the first 2 times I was trying to do it like everybody, I was taught and everything, and it didn't work, and I had no fun at all. It was painful. And so the 3rd time I said, God, the worst can happen is I fail again. And that's not bad. Nobody cares. But this time I'm going to have fun. that's why I believe in fun more than anything else, because if you're having fun at you're doing, you're winning already. It doesn't matter if you become a millionaire or whatever the hell happens, because every day you're having fun, man. Who the hell cares what happens? If you're waiting for that day, for that big chunk, that $1 million, you get that, and then what do you do the next day? Man. So you're miserable or and that's why I thought when you have a goal of some quantifiable goal, then we're smart enough to figure out how to get there. We start squeezing the edges. Yeah, yeah. And hey, this isn't so bad if I screw this guy a little bit, or whatever. This is, and then you start eating away inside. And that's why I think fun is important, because that doesn't allow you to do that. But more importantly, I think fun helps you find what you're really special at. And then if you find what you're really special at, you can give that more than anybody else can. I can make a bigger fool out of myself on stage than anybody. because and I found it. My parents did not admit I was their kid for the first 10 years on TV. It was amazing, because I'd get on a talk show and I'd be there, and I know, to me, TV was boring. And I know some of you mentioned you saw me on TV show. Well, to me, it was how to get people. I was a professor of computer science, mostly graduate students, and they were working, and I had to keep them awake. And I said, you can't teach anybody unless you keep them awake. Yeah. So, and that's what in computer science or in class, who are the teachers you remember? Man, those that entertained you, right?
Yeah.
And well, the same way to me was you're educating anybody. So if I got on the Today Show, I used to think, and somebody said, well, next is Matthew Lesko to talk about government information. So, and I think people have those talk shows on them. Well, I'm going to go brush my teeth. So my thing was, I got to get you out of the bathroom. So Jane Pauley, whoever the hell was it, they'd say, oh, Matthew, they say, isn't it very hard to get a grant? I said, yeah, you're right, Jane. But did you know you get a house for $1? You can get $80,000 to do this. And then I vision these people in the bathroom brushing their teeth, coming out. What's that idiot? Well, there goes the pay. What's that idiot talking about? And then I have a chance of educating them, like that.
I like it. No, I like it. It makes perfect sense. There's a... Yeah. We're going to pause for a second to make sure that we're reconnected. Hey,
Hello.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I have it. Yeah, I'll hold it.
If you go for a cartwheel, I'll hold it while you do the cartwheel, okay?
Oh, I can do that 30 years ago.
All right. Well, oh my goodness. All right. So the way that you started selling your products was through infomercials, right?
Yes.
How did you?
No, it really wasn't.
Hey, how are you so well known for that then, my friend?
Well, because that.
Because you just made such a specific impact.
Before infomercials, what I do, I found when I started, you're all trying to start businesses, and I remember starting. I had a research business, for businesses, and I'd put 1-inch ads in the Wall Street Journal. I get nothing. I got people writing out on napkins or something like that. Who's going to answer a 1-inch ad or something? Then I found out. Then I came out with a free newsletter on how to get free information. And the Wall Street Journal wrote it up. Then I got, wow.
And this is
Procter
like a
& Gamble
newsletter.
calling me, want a copy of this. Everybody,
Gotcha.
thing. It didn't cost me a penny. So that, $1,000 a week or month or whatever I was trying to put an ad and get nothing. If you're clever enough to get media to do it. So I said, hey, and that was business to business. And then when I started doing books to consumers, then how do you do, well, back then it was on talk shows. And then I quickly learned if you act like a fool, you get on a talk show. The camera goes to the idiot. Yeah. And that's why I was a regular, like Larry King, I must have been on there a dozen times, and Letterman probably about half a dozen times or so. And they'd use me when someone would cancel. Because I was their go-to guy when some big star stiffed them at the last minute. You know? And I didn't care, man. You're going to give me half-hour free airtime?
Right.
And when I wrote a book, I used to write a book a year almost, and I spent a whole year writing a book. And then I'd spend like 2 or 3 months figuring out what I'm going to say when I talk about the book. Because I was going to be free airtime, being a professional guest was what I was. And I'd travel the country. I'd come to Phoenix, right?
Yes, we're in
And,
Phoenix.
you know, do 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 talk shows, go to the next one. But I would work on that bit because that was an ad. If you were going to give me, 7 minutes on Letterman, man, I'm not going to answer your question. Yeah, that's my ad. And so I'd be very careful on what I wanted to get by, and I was telling somebody earlier, what's easy to do with these journalists is just say yes. I mean, if they, let's go, you're a crazy idiot, and you're wrong. And if you just say yes, it goes away. Nobody cares, They don't care. They asked a smart question, and they look smart, And then I'm talking to the audience. I'm talking through them.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember even, one of these things, like Joan Lunder or something. I remember that was the first big talk show I did. And she had this thing. She knew how she looked good on TV. So and I didn't know anything about TV then. And so it would be like this. But she would be looking over here because she knew that. And I'm looking, and I'm going, trying to. And Letterman was that way too. I don't know if you Letterman. I haven't watched it in years and years, but the guest thing used to be here, and you have to go like this to talk to him. Yeah. But you see, the real actors know how to talk to him through the camera. They don't go, yeah.
That's true.
And that kind of stuff.
That's true. That's interesting. All right, so then fast forwarding to current day, you're kind of fascinated now with alternative funding options.
Yeah,
for
I mean,
business owners.
it is. Well, I don't know what I'm fascinated with getting people to know about stuff that's available for free. I mean, to me, there's 2 important things in life. Doing as much as you possibly can, and the only way you do that if you're having fun doing it. So I think fun is so important. And then the other way to do it is not spending money. And we're in a culture that we believe we have to have money to do anything, which is absolutely the dumbest thing in the world. Because if you have a bunch of money, you'll figure out how to spend it. If you have no money, you'll figure out how to be a lot more resourceful and a stronger anything if you don't have the money. I mean, we're in the dot-com days when these guys would spend $5 million on a commercial for the Super Bowl because some venture capital was giving them all this money, and they'd get like $100,000 worth of business. If you didn't have that $5 million,
Right.
that would never happen. It was the stupidest thing. So when you have money, I mean, your best thing about starting anything is not having money, because you'll learn a stronger way to survive. And if you can make it without a lot of fancy stuff, then life is always like this. So if you're going to start real up here, then you're going to hit this, and you don't know how to do that. So if you start there, then the gravy comes, you just sock it away and wait for the bad times again.
Yeah, no, okay, I get that. So crowdfunding is one that you're
Oh,
really...
crowdfunding, yes. I mean, this is better than grants. I mean, I tell people for years about getting grants and why. I mean, you could do something now. You could try to get a grant or a government loan or anything, or crowdfunding. There's no application. There's no credit check. There's no nothing. You don't need a product. You don't need anything. You don't need expertise. You don't need a credential. Nothing. You just say, hey, I think this is an interesting idea. Anybody else think so? And enough people throw money at you, you got it. So, I mean, and to me, it's going to revolutionize so much of our development and speed it up. Because traditionally, I mean, and this is another town with venture capital. I mean, to me, that always sounds a little stupid going after venture capital. People do it. I think they're just in the venture capital business because people are throwing money, you want to catch it. What the hell? It sounds easier to get if people are throwing it out there. And so people throw money, you catch it. And I just came back from Shanghai. And the people over there's so much money sloshing around like that. People just go to one idea to another. A bunch of, yeah, I get money to this. It doesn't work. Yeah, I get money to do this. Instead, see, you have to make a different sales pitch to me, to a venture capital investor and anything like that, than to a customer. Or that venture capitalist, they're probably never your customer. It's sort of like asking your friends and relatives about what you're doing. They're never going to buy your stuff, probably. I remember when I was doing my commercials. I used to ask my friends and relatives. I'd show them my commercial. Hey, this is what I'm doing. What do you think? And they'd tell me all suggestions and everything. Then after doing that for years, these people never bought a thing from television. Why am I listening to them? Mm-hmm. And experts don't know, And that's why, and so you think this venture capital is some expert. They don't know. They're guessing. We're all guessing. Nobody knows. We're all guessing. And that's why now crowdfunding is a place where you can guess and fail and nothing happens. And if you win, you get a twofer. You not only get your money, you get customers.
That's true.
So you get money from a venture capitalist or investor or something like that. Now you have to go get customers, man. And that's a different sale. That's a different everything. You're selling the guy, the fat cat with the money. And you finally get it from him. The customer's so different. And then plus to me, man, if you're trying to be an independent person, what is, to me, that's like jail, bad marriage, or whatever, to me, entrepreneuring is freedom. I don't know, to me, most jobs, and that's why I couldn't work. After 6 months, I was so, the person I worked for, I thought was crazy. They were terrible people. and I hated my job and doing it. And I always said, God, I'd rather have a place where people are saying that about me instead of me wasting my energy saying that about somebody else.
They might have been saying you were crazy too the whole time. Right. It's possible.
But it's that freedom to do what you want, and you get more people involved. And if that's why if you're doing something that you really believe in, and is you, and you believe in it, you're an artist. We all are. You're going to tell Picasso how to paint? Oh, he's the venture capitalist for painters. No, I'd change that blue stuff you got in here to something else. Oh, you can't. And that's where the magic happens. The magic happens not from a committee. The magic happens. There's a little bit. You can't be dogmatic and say everything's bad, but the real important things in life are really that come from inside of us, that we're going to make it happen. And also, you take advice to me, then if you have all these partners and everybody else, and you make a collaborative thing, and there's a good argument to do that, but to me, it's when it doesn't work. See, 9 times out of 10 things that you do are going to fail. I've written 100 books and only 10 have made money. So I know I'm wrong 90% of the time. So life is how do you keep going, And you have to learn from it. So if you're taking the experts' advice about what to do and it's wrong, see, you're just going to blame that idiot and not figure it out why. If you say, hey, this is the way I think it's going to happen, and you fail, oh shit, now you really have to take that apart, and learn. And so that's why I think nobody knows the right decision in life. And we know there is, and you can ask 100 people and you get 100 different answers and everything. And that's why I think the right decision has to come from your heart, because that way you get the most out of whatever happens to that decision. And you get the most value out of that decision if it's from you and your heart than taking somebody else's advice, because nobody knows. We're all guessing. Now it's nobody knows. Look at the smartest people in the world. All the smartest people went to Wall Street to make money and everything and ruin the whole world. That's right. So the smartest people don't know. Nobody knows.
So with some of the different resources out there, when it comes to being an entrepreneur and looking at crowdfunding, a lot of crowdfunding, people see the successful campaigns that are around something artistic or some kind of a creative art. And product ones are also a little bit straightforward. But what about those entrepreneurs that don't have a tangible product, and it's not a creative effort. Like, how have you seen success for them?
Yeah, you're right. And there's different ways. Well, now there's other kinds of things. I mean, like, well, actually, you run a book. You could do a crowdfunding on a book.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, and
Get
instead of
position.
so you get it, and you make more money. See, that's the other thing. To me, what's so great about crowdfunding and these platforms, they drive, traffic, sale. I mean, like being an entrepreneur to me, that's why the third business. When I started my third business, and after failing, I said, well, God, as an entrepreneur, you have 1,000 things to worry about if you're starting something. So you could spend all next month worrying about finance if you wanted to, right? Or all next year worrying about market. You can't do that. You don't have that luxury. So you really have to identify what the critical success factor, to me, is every day you work up and say, hey, what's the most important thing to do today? Because if you look at what the hell you're doing, you could easily pick out 100 things that you think is important or some expert thinks it's important or whatever. You have to ignore that and you say, what's the most critical to your success? And I think it's just a customer. Nothing else is more important than customer. I mean, if you don't have a customer, you're not in business, no matter how good your anything is. So you don't, I mean, the third time I started a business, not only didn't I get any of the help or lawyers, accountants, and everything like that, and just put all my effort in getting a client or a customer, I didn't even file with the government. Because I figured, well, my last two businesses only last a year or two, and I figured it's going to take government 3-4 years to find me. And by that time, I'll be out of business, and it won't matter. Yeah. Or if I'm still in business, you pay the $50 fine or whatever that is. Okay, you can't be screwing around City Hall filling out forms, because that is not critical to your success. So I think every day as an entrepreneur is trying to identify what is the most critical thing to your success. And I think 99 times out of 100, it's going to be a customer.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're saying an angle a person could take with crowdfunding is using it as a marketing platform.
Well,
so
yes, because
finding something to put out there that may not be the core of your business, but drives the attention.
But it drives the attention because even if you fail, so many people I interview in crowdfunding, they say they don't care if they get the money because they got distributors now, people who saw it on there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is the traffic. Like now, if you have an intellectual product, I'm saying, well, hey, things like Udemy, Udemy. This is where, there are people making millions of dollars selling courses on there. So if you're a consultant or something, and you do a course, and see, if you went out and tried to do that, what are you going to do at a university and get paid $1,000 or something like that? You don't want to do that, right? Or you go to some big publisher and they give it 7% or something like that. Or, you don't want to do that. These platforms, give you all the money. They take hardly anything. Actually, somebody like Udemy, they take it all if you're generating the revenue. If it's their traffic, you get half. Boy, that's terrific. Where else are you going to get half the money? And so that's why all these platforms, why is Airbnb so wonderful? Why? Because they got traffic. Airbnb, to me, this is what's happening and changing everything about how we work and live and eat and everything. If you have this Airbnb, 5 years, it's worth what? $10 billion. Okay. Hyatt Hotels is worth $10 billion. And they've been around for 60, 70 years. Airbnb has 800,000 rooms. Hyatt Hotel has like 150,000 or something like that. 800,000 versus 150,000. Employees, how many people they hire? Yeah, they got about 1,000 or 2 at the most. Hyatt has like 130,000. Yeah, it's the same value. So where's how? Yeah. Uber's the same kind of way. Yeah, Uber, their value is now the same as Hertz and Avis together, and they don't own a car.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, they got 60,000 employees in Hertz and Avis. And Uber has, 1,000 or something like that, But this is what's happening. But what's creating there? Now, man, see, I say, okay, here, you have a lot of real estate here. I hear When I went to Shanghai, I used Airbnb for the first time. It was terrific. It was the neatest thing I've ever done. And I was trying to get deals and interviews and do speeches or whatever in Shanghai. I was working on it for 6 months and trying all this. I got a little trickle. I got to my Airbnb person there, person I'm renting from or whatever. We have a startup grind over here. Come on, you give a speech. Over here. And another place. And within 2 days, man, I had my 10 days packed. Because of the lady who lives there. And it wasn't even her place. There's lazy people who have stuff that they don't want to get their hands dirty and rent it on there. That's a wonderful business. You have all these properties or whatever going around. And so she splits it with the owner. So, well, that's a great hustle.
It's a great hustle.
I mean, the guy, I'm using Airbnb here, and the guy just goes stays with a friend while he gets money for it. It's a great high-rise apartment. So I mean, we didn't have that. And why? Why is that able to do? Because those people who have that website are getting customers. Without a customer, you're nothing. So now you have these websites that customer. Udemy's like that, whether it's Fiverr, whether it's Uber, it's customers, And that's the key of the game. So now you 2-3 little businesses now. Like people I know in D.C. who have good government jobs and are making an extra 30-40 grand a year driving for Uber on the weekends. Yeah. Or here's another guy I rented. He came in and did photographs of our apartment. My wife and I have, it's really hers, an apartment downtown Washington, D.C. in a place called Adams Morgan, which is sort of a hip place, the bohemianish place. And we love it there. I love it down there. And we don't use it all the time, so we try to Airbnb. We put it up around Christmas time. In 3 weeks, we had about 3-4 grand of business. Wow, I mean, it's just phenomenal. It is so different out there. I mean, the big stuff won't go away overnight, sort of like radio or the CDs. I mean, just remember, everybody said, everybody's ripping off music and everybody going to jail. That shit went, it goes. You get a movement, how many CD stores you have anymore? It's gone.
Right.
It goes. I mean, they're still there, whatever, but it's different. Radio, they said that when TV came in my generation. Radio's sort of still here. I mean, it doesn't disappear, but it's not the wave. And the fun part is on those waves, man.
It's true.
You don't want to be the wave going out and you're scrambling and scraping, and man, you want to be going on something. That's the fun part of life. And that's how, and you're like me, living longer. I mean, I just want to be in something new, man. That's more fun than trying to, all the old people, they'll die, get out of your way. Don't worry about it. They're the ones stopping most of you from doing stuff. That's another thing that I think it stops us. Loved ones, man. You want to go out, I don't know, maybe it's different culture now, but when I was growing up starting businesses, everybody said, don't do that, it's stupid. Get a job with a pension. Now there aren't any, so that's not an argument anymore. But your parents still want you to do that, become a doctor, a lawyer, and all this kind of stuff. And to me, you want to do something that is in your heart. You don't even know what it is yet. So how are you going to explain it? And they're only going to know what it is if it's of a doctor or lawyer or something like that. Anything else, my parents didn't know what I was doing for a long, long time. Until actually where turned was, I was doing Larry King and so much, and my parents were in a retirement thing in Florida, and they say, hey, is that your son on Larry King? He's a smart guy, Then I was okay.
Right.
I mean, before then. But your loved ones, they want to protect you. They don't want to see you hurt. And anything you're going to do, you got to hurt. You got to fall down. I mean, when you're a little kid walking, when she grew up 1 year old, how many times she fall on her butt doing that? If you said, don't do that, you're going to fall and hurt yourself. You'd be wheeling her around today, right? So we all have to do that. We have to go out and fall and hurt and everything. You're going to do something new, man. There's no way out of it. So you plan for failure. Everybody plans for success. I remember going to seminars and everything. Oh, okay, what do you do with $1 million? And we talk about the tax shelter. I'm sitting there without a pot to pee in, you know, and then these people are talking about how to tax shelter $1 million. You know. And to me, it was saying business school was that way. How do you make things work perfectly? Nothing works perfectly. Why try? You know, train yourself for chaos. You're going to open the door every day, nothing works. Nothing happened. If you're trained for that, it's fine. If you're busting your ass to make sure everything works, you're not going to learn.
That goes along with when it comes to public speaking, a lot of entrepreneurs get really intimidated having to pitch or having to really put themselves out there. But it seems like a lack of planning and just being you is right along what you would recommend.
I think, but it's the only way you get there is you have to own what it is. If you're doing somebody else's dream, if you're doing somebody else's thing, then it's theirs, and you can't take somebody else's magic. That's why we all try to steal from somebody else. We all have our own magic. You can't steal somebody else. You can't act like a fool like I do. This comes natural to me. You know? And I'm going to do it better because I love doing it, you know? And that's why, to me, how you grow the most is finding out what's most natural to you, so you'll give that better than anybody else. And it usually is whatever is weird about you, I think. Because what's weird about you is what's different, and that's probably what you're good at. So that's a clue on where you should be going. But I think most of us, our culture is expert where it is, and you got to do some of that to make sure that you're not going off a cliff and things like that. But now it's so easy to try anything without any money. And there's ways to put together a life earning money 5 other different ways, you know, whether it's Uber, to keep yourself going as you try things without money. So if you do something on crowdfunding 10 times, man, that's better than getting an MBA. You know? And you're going to learn it so much more. And then it'd be something you think is. And here's another thing, and if you have the luxury to do this, to me, is what's so important, and it helped me so much, is that if you think what you're doing is more important than you, that to me is the most, it's selfish in a way, but it is the most luxurious part of life. If you find something that you, look at the heroes that we follow. I mean, we just select Selma or whatever and things like that. I mean, these are people who are working on something that's bigger than them. So if you're able to find something that you think is bigger than you and important, man, you could get up every day and can't wait to do it no matter what happens. And when you get beat up, because you get beat up every day. I mean, I personally think life is terrible. Nothing works like you want it to, and you get beat up, and nobody cares. And, you know, it is. I mean, I don't know about your life, but I think we all go through this stuff. You know, we try to pretend it's not happening, but it is. And so, how do you handle that? One is humor, and the other thing is that you think what's important. Because if you're not doing what's important, then wow, how can it's too easy to get beat up, and then you worry about. I remember when I was working for other corporations, I used to worry about my chair and my office, and if I was flying first class and what hotel and it. Nah, I don't give a shit. I mean, I got the cheapest car to come here. I'd come here in a Camel. I don't care. I wouldn't get out of D.C., but TSA. But it's true. I don't care, you know, because it's not important at all. And that's the problem. I think that's, and that to me is such a luxurious life to have something like that. It's hard. You can't do it magically or whatever. It comes from inside. So it's always, I think, trying to pick your insides to guide towards there. And it can't happen it takes, like we were talking about earlier about making decisions or whatever. I mean, it's a little piece. I mean, most businesses I started that were successful really happened because what I really started didn't work. But you have to do that to get through to what it should be. Trying to think of perfect, there is no such thing. You take the best shit you have and try it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's awesome, Matthew. Really inspirational.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, all right.
How many times did I say shit?
We don't promise a PG rating, so it's okay.
I used to give speeches at college campuses, some of the religious campuses. If I cursed, I would get paid.
Oh,
Right,
oh
it was
my
in the
goodness.
contract. Oh, it
Wow.
was tough.
I'm sure. All right, so we're going to play a little game here called
Okay.
Rapid Fire. I'm going to ask you some questions about your preferences about you, so people can get to know you a little bit better.
Pink.
And then we're going to do Q&A, so that's coming soon. All right, so 21 questions, rapid fire. Here we go. Dogs or cats?
I don't care about either. Actually, you know, I never had pets growing up. We had 2 dogs. When my boy was probably your age or something, all of a sudden one said, "What boy wouldn't like a puppy?" Oh, God, that melted me.
Aw.
And so we had 2 little terriers, and they just passed away recently,
Aw.
dying. I learned so much, maybe because I'm old and it's important to me now, but on how animals die. You know, I mean, they're just beautiful things happening. It's such a natural thing, and I think that is the other. So I got so much out of that when they died. Also, as boys, maybe it's different younger, that I saw as our boys became 12, 13 years old, they would come home from school and hug the puppies. They wouldn't hug us anymore. Yeah. But it's that practice of hugging and loving. So that was.
Oh, very good. All right, so dogs get a little bit.
Yeah,
little
they
bit.
got
Okay.
enough on it.
Wine or beer?
Wine or beer?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a wine guy, but recently, I don't know, as I get older, I go more towards beer, and I don't know why it seems to affect, you know, I don't
All
know.
right.
Yeah.
Lakes or beaches?
I'm a beach.
Mornings or nights?
Morning.
I thought that might be the case.
Really? No,
Oh,
I,
yeah.
I would get up 5 o'clock. My wife's a
Yeah.
night person. Maybe that's why we're still married.
Right?
She'll stay up. I mean, I love sleeping 9 to 5.
Oh, wow. Okay. That took a minute.
And that's why I love to get up 5 o'clock in the morning, go run and have it all to yourself. And especially in a city like New York City at 5 o'clock in the morning, nothing's going on, and be able to run,
Yeah.
you know, from 57th down to First Ave or whatever. Yeah, it just is.
Favorite app?
Favorite app? I'm building them now.
Ooh. To be continued.
Yeah.
Favorite vacation spot?
I don't like vacations. Yeah, that's why I went to, my wife and I, I went to China. I want to learn. I want to see how people live somewhere else. People like me, you know. So me, I've been taking, taking Mandarin for the last 3 years from a government grant from the Chinese government. They have something called the Confucius Institutes. Wonderful. They send young people just graduated from college to teach you Mandarin or whatever. I know 7 words or whatever after 3 years. But and that was part of my thing of going to Shanghai. By the way, when I went to Shanghai, I was still studying Mandarin every morning there. And I'd go to Starbucks, try to order in my broken Mandarin. And the Chinese guy in Shanghai would say, "What do you want? Speak English." Nobody speaks Mandarin there.
Oh, man. That's funny. Favorite hobby?
Favorite, I have none, I don't think.
Business?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just very curious and I read a lot. I run every day.
What kinds of books do you read?
Mostly nonfiction or Mandarin vocabulary.
Oh, of course.
I run every day for about 5 or 6 miles. And that's why, okay, I'm keeping the body alive that way, but how do you keep the brain? So I thought, what's the hardest thing I could try to learn with my brain? Mandarin. Wow. So that's my exercise program for that.
All right, favorite guilty pleasure?
Favorite guilty pleasure? Mint chocolate chip fries. And that's why I love getting sick. I mean, I
Is there a
can't.
bet going out there or what?
Yeah. Yeah, I was a fat kid. I mean, you see that cow now. I still see a fat kid. I was the second shortest kid in 8th grade graduation. And the only one behind me was little Gary Cornfield. And I wore chubby clothes. And even in high school, I was 30 pounds heavier. And not until I started running after the Navy, start running every day, was I able to control it. So I could put on 30 pounds at any time I want. But that's why the sweet tooth. That's why I like getting sick. I just had the flu, and I love getting the flu because then I could forget everything, and stop. Because otherwise I wouldn't stop if I wasn't sick.
Yeah. Favorite
And
sport
eat
to
ice
watch?
cream. Pardon me?
Favorite sport to watch?
Favorite sport? I don't
No,
know.
I thought. Okay. Favorite card game?
Card game?
Card game. No card games?
No.
Favorite food? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I like bar food more than anything, but now
Okay.
I'm more into salads.
Favorite movie or TV show?
Yeah, I like a lot of, down when you live so long, there's things that are so passé, that were so, I remember like King Solomon's Mines back in the 50s or something like that. Yeah, wow. Yeah, but at 12 years old, that is, now, gosh, what did I really, they're putting a lot of interesting dramas, I think, on off. I'll watch Washington stuff, because I live there,
Yeah.
or cop stuff if it's good.
A musician that you love?
Musicians, I like music, I like jazz. I like my kids to teach me more about music and whatever. And then I see what's funny that they'll, I like Jingo Reinhardt, my 30-year-old was talking about. This
One
30-year-old
fan.
knows who that is, and music is important.
What's your go-to karaoke song?
I have no idea.
You've got to be a karaoke guy.
No,
I
I'm
mean,
not. I don't think I could sing.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything you collect?
Anything I collect. Ex-wives.
All right.
I've been married 3 times, and to me, it's sort of like businesses. Growing up in my generation, my first 2 businesses failed too. My first 2 wives failed. But as a guy growing up in the 50s or whatever, relationships, never worried about it. There's nothing. It was sort of like a date. You worried about it on Friday if you didn't have one for Saturday yet. And then after 2 failing marriages, it occurred to me, a relationships takes as much work as a business. So be careful.
A new crowdfunding platform coming soon, right?
Right.
All right. Weirdest thing you've ever eaten?
I don't eat weird.
Okay.
And that's, I had a rule of thumb growing up, only 1-syllable vegetables I ate. Food didn't
That's
touch
what she
each other.
shouldn't hear. That's
right,
what she
really?
shouldn't hear.
I hate food touching each other. That divider plates are things from heaven.
What is the best compliment someone can give you?
That they don't know my work. Yeah, and think the suit's cool.
One thing on your bucket list?
Oh, gosh. One thing on my bucket list. It's trying to figure out what's going on in the world today. Where is it going? There's so many new things. The last 5 years, things have changed so much, and nobody knows, which is great, and it's great for the little guy. It's sort of like all the cards, and I don't play cards, fell all over the floor, and nobody knows anything about them. So anybody could run around and pick them up and try stuff. And to me, it's the most exciting time that I could think of in my career when I was your age or younger. If you wanted to sell something, you need a store. You need to spend a couple $100,000 or something in a store. Like if I wanted to close it now, I just figure out something, put it online for $100 and start selling it, right? And it is just incredible for entrepreneurs. That's why all the jobs are going away. Who cares? I mean, nobody's happy with these jobs anyway. Yeah. And if you have something that you love doing and in your control of your life, I think that's the most, God, the most spoiled thing in life is being able to wake up in the morning and what am I going to do today?
Cool. All right, so last question. So I kind of feel like exclamation points would have made a little more sense for you. Why question marks?
My wife said it should be colons. But
Colons?
no, with question marks, I've always been in information. My MBA is in management information systems, handling large amounts of data, big data, and that's what I actually am working on apps for big data now. And back when I was starting in business, the Library of Congress was huge. You know, that's where all the information was. And being in town, well, wow, all the books. I mean, then in 1973, we had, you know, more knowledge there in the last 5 years than in the beginning of the history of man. You know, that was before the internet.
Wow.
Now, and even then I thought, well, there's answers to everything. I think the answers are easy. You could now go and Google anything, right? You get an answer. But it's the questions that are important. Knowing what questions to ask. You know, like you could, oh, I want to get a government grant. Well, you're going to get a government, you know, Google, I want to get a government grant. You're going to get 50 million websites. You got a bigger problem than you ever started with, right? Plus, you ask the wrong question. If you're looking for free money, only 20% of the free money the government gives out is called grants. So you ask the wrong question. So that's why in our explosion of information, it's really all about the questions. The answers are easy. You get an answer to anything.
Well, speaking of questions.
Yes.
Q&A time.
Oh, I thought somebody wanted a suit.
So Crystal's going to bring a microphone down to you. So give us just a second so we can capture it on video too. Oh, Kelly's going to bring it down to you.
Matthew, what would you say is your greatest failure?
I embrace failures. I look, as I get older and older, the good times in life are the things that are terrible that happen to you. And like I woke up one day and I saw 50 headlines, Lesko is a liar. Somebody, and actually it was a government agency. I think I'm the only person in the world that says something nice about the government. And they came out and did this report. They weren't after me, but they said, I'm causing all these people being taken advantage of by these grant scam people. And it, you know, I thought I was doing God's work. I didn't know. And so now I'm the biggest villain in town. And that was the neatest thing that happened to me. Yeah. I mean, I learned how much I really knew and how superficial everybody else was about it. So that's why if you don't have those moments, then life is boring as hell. So if you, I mean, like the beginning failures. And if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be able to get the stuff out and into who I really should be. So, and you don't have chances to do that. That's why, and then I gave away millions of dollars once because when I first started wearing question mark suits, there's something I wanted to, I forget, maybe I did, started about 10, 15 years ago. At the time I was on home shopping, I was making millions of dollars. I'd go down and sell 30,000 books in 2 days. I come down with, oh, this is me now. You know, they didn't think, I'm going to Barry Diller. He just bought it. You know. And, you know, oh no, you can't have that. And it's something I really wanted to do. And you get advice, and you could waltz around what, you could find an excuse why it should happen. You shouldn't do it, especially if it's a lot of money. But it was so important to me, and I agonized over that for a month or so, and just gave it up and went and opened so much more after that. But those tough decisions that are self-sacrificing, I think the only way you learn and grow and everything is when you hurt yourself sacrificing for a principle. And if you don't have chances, and then sometimes I look for ways to get myself in that place so I have a chance of feeling that again. because they don't come by very often. And that's why if you just miss them in life, it'll slip by and it'll be just another vanilla day. No chocolate mint chip.
Go ahead and state your name too.
Hi, Brian. Of everything you said about getting free money where only 20% of money from government is grants, the other 80%, from the information and the work you've done for a young entrepreneur, where could I access that information? Where can I find that specifically?
First of all, don't worry about the money. I mean, maybe if you need something. I mean, the first place, if you're an entrepreneur, the only place I would suggest that you know about, because it could save your ass a lot of times, is your local small business development center. I mean, that is a place, because otherwise then if you need legal help, you need accounting, some technical question with, a crowdfunding site or a contract. I mean, they'll help you all that kind of, you want to get a government contract even or something. I mean, they'll help you all that kind of stuff for free, But it's you and your customer that's more important, and how you're going to do that without spending money. If you want that other stuff, it could be just a waste of time. You think you need money. It may be wiser. How can you do this without getting? Particularly, that's why to me, what's more interesting about crowdfunding is that you're getting customers. See, getting a grant, it's a one-time deal. So you're going to spend all those researchers, all the research and expertise doing that for one time. You'd rather get a government contract. Because if you got something to sell, no matter what it is, the government probably buys it. If you've had to figure out how to do that once, you could do it over and over. Like my sister's frame stuff for the government. She does $1 million out of her little garage somewhere in the middle of Virginia. I don't even know where the hell she lives. They send all their little tchotchkes to her, these plaques they get and everything. She put frames on them and does $1 million doing that. That's where the real money is for entrepreneurs.
Very good.
And the other thing for any other is your small business development center.
Hi, Matthew. My name is Tanny, and thank you for speaking to us tonight. And my question is, you said you were just in Shanghai. I was wondering, what were your impressions of the startup scene in Shanghai compared to here in the U.S.?
It's exciting as hell. Man, I was so excited. People, first of all, so many expatriates are there. I mean, it's a city. The biggest, most amazing thing is 28 million people, and the place ain't crowded at all. That's the most amazing thing to me. But yeah, it is exciting. Everybody's doing something. I mean, restaurants are popping up like mushrooms all over, and they're like, you have the high-end apartment stores, a whole cluster of them, and you'll go 5 more blocks, there's another cluster of the same ones, but the people are more open. The entrepreneurs, I felt, they are here. Here, maybe it's different here, but a lot of people you meet in business here, everybody, you sit down with them, and they want to know how much money they're going to get from you before you leave the room. That never comes up. Everybody's much more collaborative there. I mean, here we talk about sharing, but not there. And these are people from all over the globe. I mean, I ran into a guy from India who actually worked in Rockville, where I live, before he went to Shanghai, And it is just cool, and it's vibrant. And here we're all protecting something we did 50 years ago. 50 years ago, China wasn't here. But you know what really got me? I would talk about fun, because that's very important to me, is how do you live a great life? I mean, that's the struggle in life, is how you, and I think is if you having fun, that is a key to your life being worthwhile, I think. And these people come up who are like first generation off the rice paddies or whatever, and did all the things that people told them to do, and they have these nice jobs and doing, but they're not having fun. They relate it to having fun so much more, I think, than even here. Because I think here, see, they're only one generation out of poverty kind of thing. Here, it's been a slow You know, we had how many generations? Like my grandparents came over, and you work hard, and so you think you have to do this all the time. So it's sort of, as we developed longer, we accept the uncomfortableness more, sort of like the frog in the frying pan. You're turning up the heat slower and slower and slower. But if you're just one generation out, hey, well, this shit is stupid. What are we acting like this for? That we're missing something. That was exciting to me. And is that your heritage? Yeah. Now, and it is, the politeness. Nobody looked at me. I was there 10 days, 28 million people. I got 3 people who said something out of the blue. And 2 of them were sleeping on the street. Yeah. And the other one was drunk as hell. But it just, also what was wonderful, the non-macho culture. Here, as a man, and I don't know what you guys or whatever, it's, my thing's bigger than your thing, kind of, it's all, everybody, guys and big puff-ups. I don't feel any of that in China. That this macho stuff that goes on with guys. I didn't feel that in India, too, when there worked for a while, too. The cops don't even have guns. So there's none of that. And that gave me energy. It did over there in China, too. I mean, I lived on 5 hours a night of sleep. I mean, I get off the 20-some-hour plane ride, and I'd sleep for 5 hours, I'd be ready. Without that going on, I think because here, this maybe like women have this little sexual harassment thing you got to do in your life, and guys have this little macho thing you got to, that's in your culture, being a guy in this culture. There, it doesn't seem to be there. And that somehow energized, at least me. Didn't have to worry about it. That's like another job. You didn't have to do anymore.
Any other questions? Oh, good. Well, we got a few.
Thank you. My name's Kevin. And a couple of things that you spoke to that I really resonated with that relate to what you were just speaking about. You speak about having fun and how important it is to, living a worthwhile life. And you also spoke about the right decision having to come from your heart. And as a leader of an organization, I'm asking how you might recommend incorporating decision-making from the heart and fun in the workplace.
Well, I remember the East Coast Silicon Valley for us in Washington is Fairfax, Virginia. This is a high-tech place and everything. And I went to a big seminar there where they were on creativity. And it was like 5,000 people, all the high-tech companies talking about how creative they are. Everyone, even the women, had black on. They're talking about how creative they are. It was just, and I remember telling my boy, I came when he was trying to decide what to do with his life when he couldn't get the job, and I was trying to, and there's a kid who lived with me, and he was talking about maybe going and working for Obama. This is before Obama really had the campaign. He read his book, and he was trying to get a good job on Capitol Hill and couldn't, and read about this Obama guy, and he may run, and he wanted to go up and work on. And I said, God, your heart is smarter than your brain. I mean, the brain gets, and all our important decisions, you're going to choose somebody for a love life. If you say, well, he's got to be 6'6", and he's got to have this and that and whatever, or she has to have, and life isn't that way, And that's why the brain, and the more we go to school, the more we think that's important, right? And that's our little kid to tell you who's honest or not. They don't think about it. They just know. It's sort of like your dog. And fun is hard. There's no encouragement. See, and that's why to me, what I'm doing, I'm throwing my own party because nobody else is going to throw one. So shit, I'd have my own. It's another time for you. And you'll never get encouragement. I was thrown out. I told you I lost millions of dollars. I would go and interview people at a seminar. They wouldn't let me in the door because of this. Wearing this. You're not serious enough. You can't. And that's what failure does. If you fail enough, then what people say. And if what you're doing is more important than you, then that gives you another level above it. To get above it. It's hard to get above it because everything, this is your life and it's personal. Everything. That's why don't take it personal. Bullshit. It's my life. It's got to be personal. Mm-hmm. You had a question a long time ago, right? Finally.
Yeah, I'm Bill. Well, enough of the serious questions. I just want to know, what does your closet look like?
You could see, go on YouTube, but Lesko Vice. And they did a profile on me, and it got my whole closet there.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, and it's anybody see the Vice video? Yeah, but it's a sweet. They followed me around for about 2 days. It happened just about 6 months ago. Nice people. I've never been so impressed. I mean, I didn't know much about Vice before they came down. They did a lot of weird stuff, but they were just delightful, And the way you see me talking here was a lot like that. I mean, because I think the things, the issues we talk about, they're the important things. I mean, how you struggle through life. I feel every one of us have an incredible struggle every day. That's why I think no one has the audacity to tell somebody else what to do in life. How can you possibly do that to somebody? First of all, it's assuming they don't care about their life. Man, they care about their life more than anybody else in the world. And to me, that's what love is. Love is not, I grew up in a family, love is you tell somebody what to do with their life. But when I'm about 40, 45, I realized love is helping somebody else do whatever they want to do with their life. And whatever you want to do, if I love you, I just help you. I mean, I don't know what I should be doing in my life. How could I possibly tell somebody else what to do? So love is just empathizing with somebody else who's struggling. And every one of us is struggling so hard. And that's why, to me, the suit is, I'm scared as hell and I have no idea what I'm doing. But I think if everybody else could say that, I would feel a lot more comfortable. Instead of, you get paid a lot of money in this country if you pretend you know what you're doing, right? I know the answer. Man, I was at something this morning. Everybody got a minute to tell how important they were. And I was the last one. And I just thought, shit, I have no idea what I'm doing. And I'm guessing every day, I mean, that's another thing, is think of the way it helps me is, a little boy, I remember, we beat ourselves up so much. Oh, why didn't you win that? Why didn't you get this? If your kid, your 5-year-old, came home from running a race at school and came in last, would you tell that little daughter, why were you so slow? Why didn't you run harder? Why, That's what we do it ourselves, right? Why? That's hurtful. And then we build up a resistance or hurt. And then, to me, that's less human. If you don't feel the pain, then you won't feel pain from other people that they're going through and relate to it. And that's the joy in life, and that's why I love people so much. I don't have friends, but I love people. And it's empathizing with your struggle so that I could understand my struggle better, and it's more comfortable to struggle. And if we're all doing it together, and it's easier to get by, If somebody, oh, look how great I am, too bad you can't be this great. I mean, where do we have the warmth for each other? You're struggling. Okay, that's what I mean. To me, love is, what do you want to do? I'll help you do that. I can't judge it. I can't even tell myself what to do. I can't judge. So to me, to have the gall to tell somebody else what to do in life, that's what's to help you struggle through to find out what it should be. You're going to develop it just like your thing is. Your idea. I mean, it's the process. I mean, to me, we're all artists, and we paint something. You know, it's abstract. We're not copying because we don't know what's going on. So we get up and we put a brush stroke on there, and then that leads to another thought that we didn't have until we put that first brush stroke. And then that leads to another one. So by the time you're finished, it's completely different than when you read the thought out, because you know. That's why to me, you just start. You don't know what to do, you just start. You don't know what's right. But that will lead you, that will give you a different perspective that's going to change. What was your question again?
We'll do these last two.
Thank you so much, Matthew. It was wonderful and like very heart-touching entrepreneurial talk. A lot of entrepreneurs, including me, have the struggle, and I'm pretty active, and I keep hearing again and again, I want to do that, I want to do that, this is so good, I'm expert in this, and I really want to pursue this, but at the same time I want to pay off my bills. And how do you like manage that struggle?
Yeah, no, that's, you got to be responsible. You know, so if you're delivering pizzas at night or driving Uber, to be responsible, that's what you got to do. You know, and I think the biggest thing is, man, is your overhead. Just get rid of crap. You don't need it. And if you're doing something you love every day, what do you need a 800-inch TVs for? You don't have time to watch it anyway, you know. And all this junk that we pile up our lives with, you know, we really don't need. Get a smaller place. Rent out your big place on Airbnb and downsize so you don't have, I mean, it's all that crap. That's what traps us. And the longer you're accumulating that stuff, the worse it comes, and you keep making those decisions that get you worse and worse. Yeah, it's hard, and there's no easy answer. But if you have enough oomph to be an entrepreneur, you have enough oomph and hustle to make enough money on the side to keep doing what you're doing. Yeah. And that's it. Unless you have to drive a BMW, then screw you, I don't care.
Todd here. Just had actually a couple different questions. You had mentioned the struggle, and life is obviously one big struggle after the next. At what point, and can you explain kind of some of the events that you've had that led you to the realization that you have today, and really like why you do the things that you do?
Well, I think it's always doing something. I don't think it matters what you really do, because you don't really know what to do. I think the only thing you know that's wrong to do is nothing. You don't know what's right to do. Nobody knows, and you won't know that till after the fact. And so, but we want to know what's right to do, so we stop doing anything. And I think that's the biggest trap, is doing nothing. And because that, and because you stumble. We all stumble through life, and the only way you could stumble is by trying anything. The only regrets I have is not saying yes to an opportunity. Try anything. The one thing you have is energy. And see, that's why if you're doing something you like, you have energy. You're doing something you don't like, and you're not having fun, man, you want to go drink at 5, But if you're having fun, like, I mean, I think when I used to play golf a lot, I used to love to play golf. I'd go out, and, you've seen those crazy golfers in the snow, sleet, right? I'd make 36 holes or whatever, and I'd get to work in my office. Oh, it's a little warm in here, and everything's not perfect, and things like that. And I'm out there doing something I loved, and I would do it till dark in the rain. Your life should be that way. And that's the joy. And you're going to struggle no matter what. So that's why, to me, if you're having fun at it, you already won. Because you're winning. It's a win-win. If you're doing what you're doing in life for something that, a goal you're after that may or may not happen, then you got a big chance of not happen, not winning at all. But if what you're doing is joyful, you're already winning.
Give him a hand, ladies and gentlemen. Aw, that's very sweet. Very cool.
I don't, I mean, from what you're saying here, it is wonderful to talk like this. And it wasn't until I got older and comfortable to do it. So like wearing the question mark suits. I mean, that's why you have to take a little step and try, and that's why I mean, I couldn't talk like this at 40, probably not even 50, you know. But if you started earlier, man, it was always stuff that interests me. And now I'm just so happy I could share it and you listen.
Well, thank you.